Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I have a special video for us where we will be talking about the skilled nursing facility setting. I thought it would be nice to bring in someone who actually works at a SNF, as what we say. It's weird, SNF sounds funny, but SNF, and we are just going to talk about. I don't know too much about the setting myself, so I thought it would be nice to have someone who works in the setting tell us about their experience working there so far, the pros and cons, and what kind of people she gets to see on a day-to-day basis. So I have a PRN, skilled nursing facility OT with me, and you can chime in whenever you'd like. You work at the SNF and you also work at a pediatric outpatient clinic.
I do, yes. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for sharing your OT wisdom with everyone who is interested.
I'm happy to share. Yes, I work at a skilled nursing facility. It is a subacute setting, so typically patients who have just had a hospitalization after they are more medically stable, they transition to us for rehabilitation of their self-care skills, making sure that they can functionally transfer safely, and we just want to ensure that they can transition home, like facilitate safe discharge and prevent falls and just make sure they're
In a
independent.
good condition
Mm-hmm.
to go back home.
Yes.
Right.
And so the populations that I typically work with at the SNF consist of orthopedic, such as hips and knee patients. They might have had a arthroplasty or a fracture. I've also seen cardiopulmonary, like COPD.
Okay.
I've seen cardiac, neurological, some strokes, and I've just seen an influx of fall patients. A lot of patients, unfortunately, have had falls, and that's kind of the one that has been most prevalent.
Okay. I wonder if there's any correlation to the time of the year and when falls happen.
Huh,
I was
that
just
would be
thinking when you said like it's summer right now, are people like out and about and unfortunately getting into injuries, or
right.
I'm curious. That's a side conversation, but thanks for sharing that. So
Sure.
kind of, I guess, just want to talk about what your setting is kind of like. You shared some of the different diagnoses and population you see at your facility.
Mm-hmm.
What evaluations do you guys use, and could you tell
Mm-hmm.
everyone more about
The
the overall
process.
process of assessments, evals, how
Sure.
that comes in, how long it takes, things like that?
Sure thing. Okay, so for the evaluation process, typically I start by reviewing the charts, and depending on, I guess, the complexity, chart reviews could take 15, 20 minutes, but also I like to take my time because if, let's say, for example, if they are a orthopedic patient, I need to know about their weight bearing status. So just want to make sure that I find that with like a doctor's signature and doctor orders, MD orders,
Sure.
basically. Um, so I know how much weight we can bear on whichever leg or.
Yeah.
And after I do the chart review, I will go see the patient, see how they transfer, look at their sitting balance, standing balance. I might have them, if they need to use the restroom, we can go, and that gives me a good idea of how they transfer and how long they can tolerate sitting and standing. We might work on some just morning routine ADL tasks at the sink. Sometimes it might be while they're sitting in the wheelchair or standing with the walker. It just depends. And I use an assessment called the Modified Barthel Index just to assess activities of daily living. And I also do manual muscle testing for upper body strength. And that'll kind of give us an idea of how much upper body strength they have for transfers and such and bed
Sure.
mobility. And typically the physical therapists assess the lower body. And I know OTs can still do that, but we don't because the PTs do it.
Sure.
Yeah, and afterwards, I have to write up the evaluation report, and that can take some time. I guess for me, it could take 90 minutes to 2 hours. But every facility is different, and they will give you a designated time frame of how much time you have with each eval. So you just have to try your best to stay within that time frame and
Sure.
be productive.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Great. Let's see. And what I'll do for you guys is I will put up some pictures and links for what the modified Barthel Index looks like, as well as in comparison what just the Barthel Index looks like.
Mm-hmm.
So your facility uses just the modified one.
Mm-hmm.
Could you kind of let us know, like, what's the main difference between the modified and the regular one?
Sure. So I guess the original Barthel Index, it was more black and white because let's say, for example, like they will assess feeding or grooming, hygiene, and it was very black and white. It's either you can do it or you can't do it. So
Sure.
there's no, you can't give them like a score in between. As Whereas the modified Barthel Index, it's more on like a Likert scale, so you have more options. It like maybe they need max assistance or min to contact guard, or they need supervision. So there's a different point, I guess, number of points that you can assign for each. And it's just, I feel like it gives you a better idea, better indication of how the patient is performing.
Yeah.
And not so black and white.
It's more specific,
Mm-hmm.
and I think it's more accurate when you're writing it out rather than is it yes or no, can they do it? Because most of the time people are somewhere in the middle.
Yep.
There are some steps they can do and some assistance they may need. So the modified definitely sounds like something I would appreciate more
Yep.
for the details.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty, okay. So I want to get into a little bit more about PRN. And for those of you who don't know, PRN is when you are working kind of on call, like as needed.
Mm-hmm.
So as needed is what it would translate to. So it is contract based, and you would kind of get called in, or the facility would let you know, hey, we have a need
Mm-hmm.
only random days a week or
Right.
certain days a week.
Right.
And we need your help.
Mm-hmm.
So what's that process been like for you, and working in a SNF in particular?
Sure. So yeah, PRN is a contract position, and you're paid hourly. You don't get any benefits or health insurance as a full timer would. And PRN jobs are basically, it's just a way to supplement your income or make extra money on the side. Mm-hmm. Because there are people who have full-time OT jobs that still do PRN like on the weekends, just to make some
Extra
more
cash?
Yeah. It's for, I guess, PRN. I'll go over a little bit about the pros and cons of being a PRN at a SNF. So for the pros, I would say it's PRN work is very flexible. The facility basically asks you to come in on certain days, and you control how many hours you want to work or not work. Like you just tell them, yes, I can come in those days, or no, I can't.
Right.
And you go in, you do your job, and then you leave.
Yeah. Easy as that.
Yeah, it's very flexible. And I guess another pro is you get to work with a variety of diagnoses. Diagnoses.
Yes.
And
we care about grammar here on this OT channel, I'm sure.
As I think I mentioned earlier, like I've seen orthopedic, cardiovascular, some neurological, a variety.
Sure.
And depending on their diagnoses and where they are, you use different treatment interventions, and For some, you might just work on sitting balance because they have poor trunk control, or they don't have the endurance to be able to sit for very long to complete ADL. So we might just work on that and slowly increase to working on standing balance and just kind of go from there. So it's different for every patient. Another benefit of PRN work is it's a great way to just get your feet wet and figure out like if the setting is a good fit for you. Like you're not jumping into a full-time job and finding out that this is not for you.
But yes, I like that it really offers just kind of the experience of a certain line of work without you feeling like you are stuck in that position.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yes.
like you said, you get to see a lot of different people.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like you also work with kind of like I wouldn't say interdisciplinary per se, but you get to see a lot of other disciplines.
Mm-hmm.
You work with nurses as well as
Yes.
PTs.
Yes, it's very multidisciplinary, and I always talk to the other disciplines, PT, speech, nursing, as needed to get any additional information, or maybe I missed something, or the patient might have had an episode earlier that day and are in no condition to be evaluated. So just making sure the lines of communication are open, just to provide the patients with like a holistic
Safe
care.
care.
Yeah.
Great.
Mm-hmm. And I guess I'll jump into the cons of PRN work. It's not necessarily a reliable form of income, since the hours are not guaranteed.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes they might ask you to come in, other times they may not. So it's great to supplement your income, but you shouldn't just depend on PRN work to make ends meet. And when you're PRN, the regular therapists are not always going to be working on the days that they ask you to come in, because you're basically substituting for the regular therapist.
Mm-hmm.
So you might not always get OT support or mentorship at all times.
I would say it's pretty fast paced. You kind of go in there,
Mm-hmm.
you do your workload, and get out.
Yes, yep. And that takes me to productivity. Like maintaining productivity is a challenge. At my particular facility, it's about 85% or above, but some other facilities might be 90 to 95%. And just trying to ensure that you don't go over the allotted time with each patient is important. And so when, let's say I finished a treatment session, I always try to take my patients back to their rooms approximately 5 minutes early to just take into account, transitioning, and making sure, like when you get to their room, you want to set them up with their call light, make sure that they're good, and you have to go back and write documentation notes. So you really have to keep all of that in mind. Mm-hmm. And yeah, another con would be documentation, because just trying to complete all your evaluations, therapist notes, discharge notes, it can be a lot. It's trying to just manage your time and get everything done.
It's a fast moving setting.
It's fast, yes.
Right, because really the nature of subacute and SNFs, you have people coming in and you have people going out, so it is pretty quick.
Mm-hmm. And especially for me, I tend to be a little bit more detail oriented, and it slows me down. So you have to remember, like, just make sure you're looking at your clock and
Be
stay with.
conscious of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, and I think
Yep.
that's really useful information, especially for newer OTs or new grads who are considering doing different PRN or part-time jobs, to know what the setting is like so that when they dive into it, they have an idea of what to expect. I always kind of like to know, like, what am I getting into? So, thanks for sharing.
Sure.
And I think this will be really helpful for everyone who's just interested in understanding even how a skilled nursing facility works. Granted that all settings are different, and that you can't expect every setting to be the same in terms of
Right.
productivity or the population that you see or just even the inner workings.
Right.
But I think it just really helps in getting an idea of what a day-to-day would look like for an OT in a PRN, not just even PRN, but just in a skilled nursing facility
Mm-hmm.
setting. So thanks for your time.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, and I guess we'll end the video there. I will make sure to like add all the links and everything for the assessments that we discussed, guys, so that you can have that on hand if you are trying to study or you'd like to get an idea of what it looks like. And we'll go from there. So thanks for watching this video, and I hope you guys are all doing well, and we'll catch you next time. Bye.